Morning. This is Skip Corbett with Danaher Corporation, and I'd just like to take this time to introduce you to your new time and attendance system, eTime. Our agenda is on the screen before you. We're going to be introducing eTime and learning how to access the system, understand the payroll day process and what's expected of managers on payroll day. We'll discuss manager delegation and how that's the ability for you, if you're not going to be able to perform your manager task on your time cards, you can delegate the responsibility to another manager. And we'll talk about the new eTime navigation and how you move from screen to screen. We'll talk about alerts and exceptions and the difference between the two. And then we'll refresh ourselves on schedules. And unfortunately, this is a taped version, so there won't be any questions, but I will let you know that should you have any questions, please contact Lynn Barnes. All right, let's talk about eTime. About eTime. Gilbarco has used the Kronos system, especially the system that they're on now, version 5, for many, many, many years. As a matter of fact, I first installed Gilbarco back in I think in the late 1980s, so they've been a Kronos user for many, many years. eTime software, the new software that you're getting, was actually written by Kronos for ADP. So in a way, Gilbarco is continuing to use Kronos. And I bring that up to let you know that there should be some comfort in knowing that you're not really starting to use a new piece of software, but you're using an upgraded version of something that you've been using for a very long time. The time logic is the same. We add hours, we delete hours if we put hours in wrong, we edit punches if they need to be edited, we put in comments when they need to be. So the logic in how you use the system and what you do with what's on the time card is the same. The schedule logic is also the same, where you're using templates and patterns to add schedules, and the schedules will repeat in perpetuity once you set them up. So scheduling is not a big deal. Once you set it up, it stays that way forever. In effect, eTime is the next version of Kronos, and the current version of Kronos is Kronos version 6.3. Now, about Gilbarco Manager responsibilities. Before 10 a.m. each Monday morning, managers of union hourly associates must ensure that the total number of hours for your employees for the previous week equals at least 40 hours. Verify that all of your associates have a valid schedule in their time card. A schedule and a time card is important because punches are rounded to schedules, and if you don't have a schedule in a time card, then you know that their time might not be totaled correctly. I put this in all capital letters. We're going to approve time cards for all associates in eTime. Previously, in Kronos, you signed off. In eTime, you will approve. Call center time card approvals are due before 12 noon, and approvals for all salaried and salaried non-exempt employees are due before 12 noon as well. So those are your responsibilities on payroll Monday. We've got some new features we're going to talk about that might make this a little bit easier for you also. All right, let's talk about sign-off versus approval. In Kronos, you sign off. It had to be done on Monday because you could only sign off for the previous pay period. In eTime, you approve. Now, when you approve, it can really be done for any time frame. So what does this really mean? It means that now you can approve your payroll on Friday afternoon for the current pay period before you go home, so that when Monday morning comes around, it's already been approved. One caveat to that, though, is once you approve a time frame, then no changes can be made in that time frame unless you remove your own approval. Now that's something you couldn't do with sign-off. You couldn't remove your own sign-off, but with approval you can remove your own approval, make your changes, and then reapprove it. So if you've got people that are going to work on Saturday or Sunday, you can't approve your time cards on Friday. But if you don't have anybody working on Saturday and Sunday, you can approve your time card before the end of the pay period so that it's not a big deal on Monday morning. Once they're approved, the time card can no longer be edited and punches will not come in from time clock devices. Manager delegation. What a manager delegation is, it temporarily allows another manager access to your employee time cards. And it's used when you're usually unavailable to approve time cards on Monday morning, but it really can be used when you're out for any reason, like you're off-site for training or you're on vacation. Any time that you're not going to be in a position that you can readily work with your time cards, you can delegate that to any manager in the facility. Previously, you could only delegate that to your manager, but now you have the ability to delegate your responsibilities to any manager in the facility. All right, let's talk about how we sign on into eTime. First, you're going to go to the portal, and that's the 180p portal that you're used to going to get your W-2 information and your pay information. The first thing I always recommend to everyone before you do this for the first time is go ahead and take the time to update your security profile, because if you do that and you forget your password, you can always reset your password. If you don't set up your security profile, then you'll have to call somebody in administration, Lynn Barnes perhaps, and he'll have to do that for you. So the first thing you want to do is to update your security profile. Okay? We're going to click on the user login. It will take you to where you can type in your username and password. Now this is the information that you got when you registered for eTime or when you scheduled for your MyADP. Okay, once you enter that in, click OK, and now it will get you to your ADP screen where you can click here to access Enterprise eTime. Now, after you log in, this is the screen that you will see. I'm going to get out of this now and go to the live system. And this is the screen that you should see. Now, the screen is broken down into what we call different areas. And the areas that I'm pointing to now are called widgets. And what widgets are just simple feature sets that you would use to accomplish certain tasks. For example, the quick navs. In the current version, you had these across the top of the screen, and these pretty much should look familiar to you. Reconcile time card, pay period close, employee hours, things like that. These are the same quick navs that you've used before with version 5. To move around in the system, if you wanted to go like here is Department Manager Daily Task. This is something that you would do on a daily basis. To move it into the active window, which is the middle window here, you just highlight the taskbar and you drag it to the middle, and that brings it right out. Or if you wanted to, you could click on it, the little wheel, and pop it out, and it would come to the middle as well. Okay, so for our Manager Daily Task, it will actually walk you through specific items that you would be doing on a daily basis. For example, if you wanted to look at your time cards, it would ask you to select the pay period. It would ask you to manage your requests. Now, requests are something that we haven't started, but they will be starting in the very near future. And that's where employees will have the ability to request time off. And that's a very formalized process where they would go to a system, a PC or time clock, and say, for this date, I would like to have vacation. And when they do that, then it's going to send you a request where it will come up here on this screen, and you can either approve it or disapprove it. If you approve it, it immediately goes to their time card and you never have to look at it again. If you disapprove it, then it would go back and tell the employee that it has not been approved, and you can give a reason for that. All right? So the first thing you do is you manage your request. Then you can go into reconcile your time cards. And it defaults to all your home employees, and this should look familiar to you. It's the Quick Math Screen Genie, a way of looking and seeing exactly what's going on. For example, I can see that I have people that punched in late, punched out early, and I have a couple of unexcused absences. There's another way I want to show you how to get to this information too. And if you remember in the beginning, I mentioned alerts and exceptions. Across the top of the screen here, you'll see two icons. The one on the left is called exceptions. The one on the right is called an alert. If I click on that, you see that it's got the number 4, which tells me I've got 4 people with exceptions. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so rather than have to go all through this process that I just got through to get to these, I could just click on this right here, and it would tell me the people that have exceptions. I can see that James Martin has 2 exceptions for these 2 dates. I click right on him, and it shows me that he punched in early and he punched out early, so maybe he had a reason for that. If I look at his time card, I want you to notice one other thing, is that before you had to go in and total out the hours so that they would be equal to 8 for the day. eTime will automatically resolve your tardies and early outs automatically. So if they punch in, this person punched in 8 minutes late, it's going to go say that they were tardy 8 minutes and automatically calculate that out to the 8th hour for you. So there's nothing there for you really to do. Let's go to the next exception. Again, she had a self-resolved exception where it looked like she punched in late, and the system automatically calculated that for her. Okay, Brenda McIntyre has 2 exceptions where it looks like she's actually absent for those days. And perhaps since you haven't used the time off request yet, that wouldn't be a part of it. So this would be something where we would go in and we would add her vacation time in. And we're adding it just like we did before. And if she has it to take, then it will allow her to take it. Down at the bottom, you'll see that she has her totals. And if I look at her accrual balances, she does have vacation time to take. If I save that, I already have. Give that just a second. And notice now that my exceptions go down by 1. So it automatically calculates that for me. The point there being, if you only want to see just the exceptions, if people do exactly what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it, then the only thing that you should have to look at is the exceptions. And this is a very quick way of knowing these are the people that have exceptions on their time card. All right. On the alert side, on the request, there are 2 different types of requests. One is a time off request. Another one is a manager delegation. Now I have one alert up here that I have actually asked someone to be my manager delegate, and they have not responded back yet, so that's just telling me that they haven't let me know that they're going to take it. But to fill out a manager delegation, all you would have to do is go into manager delegation, select a delegate, and remember that you can choose any manager within the building. Give them a specific start date that you want them to be able to do it. I know that I'm going to be out on vacation from the 23rd through the 27th. So I have just now asked Jason to be my manager for that week. And he has received a message in his inbox that will tell him that. And you see over here in the inbox that he would get something that says, hey, Skip's asked you to be his manager for that week. And once he responds back, then I will get the notice that says that he did that for me. Okay, let's go through a day in the life of a manager when it's time to do a pay period close. So I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to bring in my department manager, daily task, and remember it walks me exactly through what I'm supposed to do. When we're paying the previous pay period, it's going to ask me to manage my request. I have none. It's going to ask me to reconcile the time card. I look at it and I say, oh, I've got somebody with an unexcused absence, so I know that I'm going to have to be doing something there. I think I've already got her open. Okay, she was absent those 2 days in the previous pay period. And we save that. Let's go back to the reconcile time card, all for the previous pay period. That's where I messed up. So we're looking at everybody for the previous pay period, and I can see that I do have somebody with an unexcused absence. I know that he won't be paid correctly, so I'm going to go in and give him his 40 hours. By giving him his 8 hours for that day, he will now have 40. Save that. Go back to reconcile time card. I see that I've got one person missing a punch. Again, if somebody's missing a punch, we know that they're not going to be paid correctly, so we would need to go in and take care of that as well. Okay, and now I'm looking over one more time. I've got somebody with unscheduled hours. And this is where if their punches aren't being rounded to a schedule, they're probably not going to calculate correctly. So what we need to do is go in and add a schedule for this person. Notice right above this person's name is schedule, and we can go directly to their schedule. And it knows what period I'm in. And just like in the version that you have now, we use shift patterns to add the pattern for this particular employee, and they work 6 to 2:30. And once I add that pattern in and give it a start date, that pattern is going to continue from now on. And once I save that, it's no longer there, so let's go back to their time card. And now their exceptions have gone away. And when I go back to reconcile time card, I see that all of my totals are up to date. Okay. So going to the next item, it's going to give me one last chance to look at punch issues. And the one I'm really looking for here is going to be for the missing punches, because if somebody's missing a punch, I know that they will not be paid correctly. And once I get done with that, I get over to approve time cards. I select all home employees for the previous pay period. Now, remember, this could be the current pay period if it's on Friday. You can either do it one at a time, where I approve, but I don't think you really want to do that. So if you'll click the first one, go all the way down to the bottom, hold the Shift key, and you can select them all, and then you can approve them all at one time. And once they're approved, you can see it immediately that they're approved. I don't think I saved that. Let's try that again. Go to the top now. Approve, approve. Or you want to approve? Sure I do. And it should be done. And once we approve that, refresh it. Now you can see that I have a 1 here. And that shows that I have approved it. And once you've approved it, you can no longer make any changes on the previous schedule. Okay, so that's all there is to doing that. Now, one other thing that we talked about was the ability to make sure that everybody has 40 hours in their time card, and that's something that you've got currently, and it's called the employee hours. You may want to go into your QuickNav and call up the Hyperfine Genie for that. And that's a very quick way to look and see if everybody has 40 hours for the pay week. I'm going to select all home employees, and it's going to show me that, hey, I've got pretty much everybody's got 40 hours. And that gives me a quick look to let me know that. Now, a question came up in one of the first sessions that we did about schedules and how inconvenient it is to change schedules. If I want to extend a shift an hour, I have to go into each individual schedule and extend it by an hour. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, we have something called workspaces. And we've really got 3 workspaces. We've got one called scheduling, my information, and general maintenance. My information and scheduling. I'm going to go into scheduling right quick and show you the schedule view of my employees. And let's just say that I wanted to extend the schedule for today. I'm going to pull that schedule view over into the middle, and you'll see that it's just a bubble. And if I want to extend it from 2:30 to 3:30, I can very quickly now just come down and drag that over. And this is a lot quicker than going through individually and changing each schedule for one day to make that change. So that's a very quick way of doing that. I'm not going to save that, but I just wanted to show you that because that really makes your life easier when you're doing something like scheduling. Another one of the workspaces that you'll use is my information. And this is where you, as an exempt employee, would enter in your time. Now, this is my time card. And it looks like a Project View time card where the only thing as an exempt employee that I have to enter in is my vacation time and sick time. And holidays should automatically be calculated for you. So I've gone ahead and I've put in my vacation for 6/23 through 6/28. Also, at the end of the pay period, or when I'm sure that my time card is ready to be paid, I can approve my own time card. And once I approve my time card, then I can't make any more changes to it. So once the employee approves their time card, then the manager will approve the time card, and then the payroll office will complete that task by signing it off. And that will be the official signature that it's okay to pay the payroll. Now, as a part of your My Information, you'll also have access to all of your accrual information, your accrual balances and projected takings. You can look at your schedule, your time detail, and that can be from any pay period currently. You'll also have the access to look at request time off. And if you wanted to go in and request time off, it would allow you to do that. That's not turned on yet, but it would ask you, what date do you want to be off? What range of dates do you want to be off? And is it going to be vacation? Do you want to take full days, half days, or a specific number of hours? So that's a very quick way of doing that. And the question came up, how far in advance can you do that? I believe that 6 months in advance currently that you can request time off in advance. So if it's right now and I know I want off Christmas, I can go ahead and request that right now. And that would go directly to the manager. All right. Other than the widgets, on the right-hand side, we have other information. And this is where all the other widgets could not fit on the screen. As you can see, the real estate gets really, really full pretty quick. But you can also look at my reports, my actions, my calendar, my totals, and this really down here is your totals. So this is the manager time card. If you have a timestamp employee or someone that uses their PC as a time clock, this area up here would show their time card, and there would be a little button down here that says timestamp. And to punch in and out, all they would have to do is click on that timestamp. Okay, so we've gone through my information, and we've looked at the different widgets that we've got. We've got the manager daily task. You've got your manager delegation. Over in your other, you have the exceptions, and you also have a full online help system. And this is all of the documentation for the software. So if you ever get stuck and don't know what's going on, if you click on help, it knows where you are and will give you the options exactly where you are in the process. So that basically is the new system. It's a radically look and feel is a little bit different, but if you look at the time cards are exactly the same. So the process by which you would go in and add hours and take away hours and manage your exceptions are still there. There was one quick nab I wanted to show you, and it had to do with the attendance tracking system. Know that there is an attendance tracking system that will give you information as managers so that you'll know where your employees are in their points and what's happening and where they are in the process, if they've got perfect attendance, etc. So that's kind of a neat quick nab to have as well. All right, so I'm going to quickly go back out to my PowerPoint. All right, these are the exceptions that you may see, and these are the same ones that you have in the current system. If you have a solid red box, it means you're missing the punch. If you have a red border around the date, it means that you've got an unexcused absence for the date. If you've got it around the time, you know that there's an exception with that time. If you've got a blue box, it means that that's an excused absence for the day. The big one down here is the purple punch, the phantom punch. If someone uses a time off request to request vacation, that vacation will show up in the time card as purple. And what purple means is that you cannot edit it in the time card. You have to edit it in the schedule. Because when you go into the future to schedule something, and in effect that's what you're doing, is you're scheduling your vacation for the future time that you're going to take it. So if you need to edit the time off request, you may have to do it in the schedule itself. All right. If there are any questions, I would ask that you would get with Len Barnes, and he'll be able to answer any questions. I wish you all the best of luck, and if there's anything that we can do to help you, please do not hesitate to call. Again, this is Skip Corbett with Danaher, and thanking you for your attention.